I'm excited to be working with you today. We're going to be taking a look at front splits. Now, I didn't have a split as a child, so I didn't think as an adult I'd be able to achieve one, who was in their late 30s, now early 40s. But it is actually quite gratifying to watch your body grow and progress, even if it takes 6 months to a year. The things you're going to need for our work together are a set of blocks and something to pad your knees. I'll be using some knee pads with a nice little gel insert. I will look for something comparable that I can link in the description below. If you are doing this practice frequently, I highly recommend using knee pads and a pair of socks so that we can slide on the floor. If you enjoy this class, consider subscribing to the channel. I give you something new weekly so that you can stay inspired on your yoga mat, whether that's stretching, conditioning and toning, even how to meditate and breathe, overall enhancing the quality of your life. So let's take a look at those front splits. We're going to start standing on our mat for a warm-up. The first thing we'll need to do before we get into our front split work is to properly warm up our body. Step your feet a little bit wider than your hips, soften the knees, and start with a gentle rotation. Just let the arms spin you around. You're standing tall, sternum is lifted. Hopefully you'll get a little pop or crack in there for extra credit. Let the arms come back to center. Inhale, roll the shoulders up and let them relax naturally down your back. Hands to the hips and pivot to one side. You'll want to set up for what looks like a little lunge position. Make sure your weight isn't in your front foot, but rather it's in your back foot. Dropping down into a lunge, squeezing the glutes, drawing the pelvis underneath you, engaging through those lower abdominals. Everything is stacked. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. 5, 4, 3, 2. Brief pause here. Squeeze through the glutes. Same arm as leg comes into a nice little side stretch. And transitioning to neutral. Setting up for that second side, pivot on that back heel. Remember your weight is behind you so we don't come over that front knee. Dropping straight down. Chest stays lifted. Squeeze and engage through those glutes. For 5, 4, 3, 2. Little pause here, pelvic tilt. Same arm as leg comes over. Breathe. And keep that back leg engaged. Nice full breath in. On the exhale, releasing that arm and pivot to center. The toes will most likely turn out slightly. Go ahead and give me a little side hinge back and forth. Keep that chest lifted. And you'll want to have that knee tracking over your toes. Go ahead and lunge over to the right. You can stay here. You can look for the floor if it's nearby, or you can walk a little bit deeper, reaching your hands to the left as you sink through that right knee. Nice full breath in. On the exhale, go ahead and transition, sink through the left. Maybe walk the hands right if you are ready to do so. Hands to center, lengthen through the backs of the legs, turn the toes forward. The pressure is on the outer edge of the feet to help lift through the inner arches. Full breath in, lengthen your spine, crown away from your hips, extending through the backs of your thighs. Exhale, come into your body's variation of a fold. The weight shifts towards the toes, not the heels. Legs are engaged, squeezing muscle to bone. Walking your hands to one side, go ahead and pivot back, coming into downward facing dog.
Take some time here to just move organically in your body, maybe pedaling your feet from side to side, letting the hips sway, or bending and straightening the knees as you need. Tail high to the sky, take a nice full breath in. Exhale, draw the navel to the spine. Lifting those heels, articulate your way through plank. Drop your knees. Go ahead and swing around to one side and meet me on your back. As you come down onto your back, go ahead and place your feet on the floor, knees are bent. Draw your left leg in and extend it up towards the ceiling. Start with a point and flex. We're going to start working into a little bit more active flexibility. Flexing that left heel. Keep the leg nice and straight. You're squeezing and engaging through that quad. Drop the leg, point the toe, and lift it up. We're working on a floss of the back side and beginning to warm up through those quads as well. Make sure the pelvis is neutral. The hands can be on your hips to help stabilize or by your sides. Flex and point with intention. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Go ahead and point up and then continue. You'll flex up and point down. Just changing the direction of your points and your flexes. Strong, squeeze that thigh. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Lift that leg and go ahead and grab on. Now, if you have limited range of motion and you're feeling really tight in that hamstring, I want you to start at the base of your thigh. If you can keep the leg straight and come up to the calf, you're welcome to come up to your calf. Right back into your points and flexes. Go ahead and flex the foot. Make sure the knee is straight. Take a nice full breath in, and on the exhale, extend your left hip towards the foot of the mat. Make sure you're not hiking up into your ribs. Actively push the leg into your hands. Nice full breath in. Continue that active push, leg into hands. One more breath. And allow that left leg to soften. Just let that left arm bring it into a nice circular churn, letting the effort go. Both directions. Coming back to center and extend the leg to the ceiling. What I want you to do now is, whether you're holding the calf or you're holding the thigh, either will work. I want you to imagine lifting your leg to the ceiling. I'm going to pull it straight to the ceiling and then see if I can't pull it closer to me. It is a lifting up as if I were to create space in the joint, and then closer. Do that once more. Try to lift and extend and pull closer. Left hip extends away. Come back into the flex of your foot. Gently squeeze that left thigh as you push it into your hands. Nice breath in. And on the exhale, go ahead and release. We'll take a nice little pigeon just to finish. Keep that foot flexed on the left side and gently just rock it out. Pushing that left knee away from the shoulder. Take this time to just check in. Acknowledge that you've even just showed up on your yoga mat is a success. It's a win for the day. Even if you make 20 different mistakes, which I usually do, at least I'm showing up and I'm trying. Releasing your pose and just come back to center. Lift and lower your hips. Right knee is going to come in as it extends. You can start with your point and flex. You want to make sure the core is engaged here. We are working on warming up through the quad and the hip flexor, which are very directly connected to those lower abdominal muscles. So navel to spine, flex that foot, drop, point, up, down, and up. Try not to keep any bending of the knee. We want to keep that back line open. 5, 4, 3, 2. Get ready to switch. Come up, point, down, flex, up, down, and up. Keep the intention through the movements. Keep the point and the flex strong. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Oh, the leg gets heavy, doesn't it? Point that toe and flex. Look up at that leg. Is the kneecap bending? Do you need to go a little bit lower onto the thigh? Adjust if necessary. Flex that foot. Extend your right hip away. Make sure that it's not hiking up. You want to push to the foot of the mat. Leg pushes into hands. Breathe and feel. One more round of breath. And soften the leg. Just use that right hand to just churn it out and around. Let all the effort go. Both ways with those circles. And back up and overhead. Legs should be straight. You're grabbing the thigh or the calf. Lift to the ceiling. I'm gonna pull that leg straight up and then try to bring it a little closer. Up and out of the joint and closer. Last one, lift and pull. Once you come to your end range, or what feels like your end range, push through the right hip and just flex that foot. Transitioning out of your pose and into pigeon. Ankle to left thigh. Continue to make sure that right knee is pulling away from the shoulder. Closing your eyes. And meeting me back at center. Go ahead and pull those knees into your chest and rock your way up. We're gonna get ready for our lunge sequence, so make sure you have your blocks and something to pad your knees. I'm using knee pads just because I think they're easier. Anytime I train splits, I just find it more user-friendly, or else I'm adjusting and fighting with my blanket. So, blocks, knee pads, or blankets. Go ahead and step your left foot through and take a little bit of a back and forth hinge, just moving freely between your half split, Ardha Hamanasana, and your low lunge. You don't always have to move linear. You can pause and do a little bit of a side to side hinge, which just helps continue to open and floss your hip. Go ahead and rock forward. You'll come into that low lunge. Make sure that left hip isn't totally leading, but pull that left hip back so that the hips are relatively square. Pressing that right shin into the floor, and right arm can come up and over. Depending on flexibility, you might want to put your hand on your left block. If you have a little more room to go, you might be able to find the floor. Full breath in. Exhale, draw the navel to the spine. Releasing onto your blocks and coming into your half split, Ardha Hamanasana. Foot will flex as you do this, and make sure that you're not rounding to get into your pose. Lift through your tailbone and just move with a nice side to side hinge, exploring that hamstring from all different angles. Find a place to pause and linger. Make sure your toes are active, left toes to the ceiling. Keep trying to extend that tailbone away from you. Begin to rock your way forward, coming into that low lunge. And I want you to create something called a 90-90. So you may need to slide that heel in a little closer, depends on your flexibility. And you want to create a 90-degree angle between your two thighs. Hips are square to the front, draw the navel in. It's almost like a pelvic tilt. Pushing your right shin into the floor, interlace those hands, press them away from you, and try to hollow out. Creating that pelvic tilt, navel draws in. You should be feeling this deeply down the front of your right thigh and hip flexor. Inhale the arms up, coming back into your lunge. Depending on flexibility, you might want to travel with your blocks. If you have a little more to go, you can use your hands on the floor. We're going to get ready for a hamstring curl, which sometimes my hamstring cramps up. An easy fix typically is to just come out, and then you might be able to save that cramp before it actually starts. Take your body weight and drag it forward with your hands. Take the weight from the knee to just above the knee. Foot is flexed, little curls in. Our goal is to contract the hamstring to lengthen through our quad. 5, 4, 3, 2, curl that hamstring in. Now you're welcome to hold here, especially if you're just getting started. If you think you can find a bind, reach back with your left hand, finding the foot. Push your foot into your hand, open up your heart, and use your hand to draw the foot closer while pulling the navel to the spine. Push away, breathe in. Exhale, navel draws in, pull the foot closer. Twice more, inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhale. And try to pull that foot in. Navel draws back. Be mindful on the release not to just fall out of your pose. Tuck that right foot under. Long variation of pyramid, pressing through that back heel. Try to draw yourself closer into this left thigh. Even if the knee is bent, it is okay. Remembering this is a long variation of pyramid, we aren't narrow, so having a bent knee is fine. Press through that right heel, squeeze and engage your thighs. Letting the head relax. One more nice breath in. Exhale, rock through center, drop that back knee and rise up. Create a 90-90. You might need to walk that foot a little closer in to get there. Pelvic tilt, right? So if you are feeling quite tight, you can even just start to feel that sense of stretching here already. If you think you can grab that foot, I prefer same arm, same leg to find the foot, and then I can find my way in with the right foot. Now this is quite challenging in terms of pressure on the knee. Please try couch stretch, especially if you're in your living room and this looks like it's not accessible. So the same position can be done at a couch, and it is much more user-friendly to that knee. From all expressions, draw the pelvis forward, navel in, heart is lifted. And if I did this every day, I'd actually have a split all the time. It's when I don't open up my quads that I very quickly lose my split. One more breath. And exhale, hands to blocks. This is our last little bit for this right knee, I promise. I know it's knee intensive when we train splits, but unfortunately, that's just part of the game. Flex that foot, lift through the tailbone, taking it into some active flexibility to finish. Extend the sternum forward, nice full breath in. And exhale it out. We're gonna do a tack and pull technique. Tack your heel to the ground and pull it towards you. And then relax. On the inhale, tack and pull. Exhale, relax. See if you can soften. Last time. Tack and pull. Rocking forward and swinging that left leg around. Come all the way back into a pose that feels good to you. Maybe come into prayer pose, come into child's pose. Take a moment to just soften. Notice your two sides. Hinging back, hips to heels. Okay, we've got our second side waiting for us. Grabbing those blocks, step your right foot through. Coming into those hinges back and forth. I wish that I had recorded my progress, where if I were to maybe record the first time you're going through this sequence and you can watch your progression over time. It's quite gratifying, even if it takes 6 months or a year to get a split, if that's a goal that you have. Seeing your body change and transform and having it digitally is just a nice little thing to have. Is it so important that we have a front split in the scheme of our lives? No, not really. But giving yourself something to work on, something that you've achieved. Rock through center, low lunge. Remember that right hip likes to lead, pull it back, navel's drawn in. Same arm as leg comes up and over. Make sure that you don't dump into your low back. It is a lifting through the pelvis, strong core. So the arching and the lifting comes through the upper back, not the low back. Very important. Our goal is to get into hip flexor. Nice full breath in. And on the exhale, go ahead and release, rock back. Heel lifts, and take a moment here to just give a little side to side hinge. You're tacking and dragging that heel on the floor. Rock through center, low lunge, coming up to what feels like your 90-90. So I'm just gonna walk that right foot a little closer in. Pelvic tilt, hands interlace, press them away from you. Think of pressing the arms away, drawing the navel in, and pressing your left shin into the floor. Should be very deep up into that hip flexor. Nice full breath. Inhale, arms come up. You could sink in and bring those hands down to the floor. You'll want them on the inside of the right foot, on or off blocks, depending on flexibility. And remembering, instead of that emergency exit, if you should need it, we have that tuck and lift in case we cramp up through the hamstring. Drag to the top of the knee, right? So I push my body weight forward. It is helpful. Foot flexes, and do your hamstring curl. You've got 5, 4, 3, 2. If you need to hold here, hold here. If you need to relax it down, you could release and just continue to push that shin into the floor. Otherwise, it's a bind. Right arm reaches all the way back. I know my foot is there. Press into the hand with your foot, open your chest, and then try to bring that foot a little closer in. Draw the navel to the spine. Inhale, open. Exhale, bring it in. 2 more rounds. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Watch this front knee. It likes to get really sloppy. Make sure it's tracking over your toes. Brief pause here.
Release the hand with control with that foot. Tuck the back toe under. And then a very long variation of pyramid. You want to think about keeping yourself connected to your thigh. So if you wanted to hold the back of that thigh as you enter, remembering this right leg can be bent, right? It is a different version of pyramid. Continue to extend and push through that left heel. Engage through the muscles of your legs. Tailbone reaches to the ceiling. Try not to round and curl it under. Keep lifting high. Rocking forward, you'll drop that back knee and we'll set up for that 90-90. Now if those quads are tight, if you're just getting started, I just want you to focus on that pelvic tilt. Press your left shin into the floor, you're going to feel it. If you think you could find that foot, grabbing into that curl. So couch stretch if you need it. You have that option, especially if you're in your living room. Be knee friendly, draw the pelvis underneath, chest is lifted. Make sure you're squeezing those glutes. We want to engage our backside to focus on lengthening our front side. One more breath. Control that release. Hands to blocks. Ardha Hamanasana. Last little bit. Pull back. Dig that heel into the floor. Active flexibility. Tack the foot down. Inhale, drag it towards you. Exhale, go a little bit deeper, just softening. Tack and pull, breath in. Exhale, soften. Once more, tack and pull. And soften. Setting those blocks aside so that you can swing that right leg around. Coming into child's pose, prayer pose, whatever feels good to you. I'm gonna melt right down into child's pose. Checking in with your body. And notice where your mind is because it likes to drift. Just stay here with me and be in our work together. And begin to rise your way up. It's time for those splits. So I've removed my mat so I can work with the floor, and I've also added my socks. Now this should go without saying, but listen to your body. It is very easy, especially when we want to achieve something like a front split, to get very heady about it and push ourselves into a pose because we want to get to that pose. But listen. Find your edge. There's discomfort, but you know in your heart that you're not doing damage or injuring yourself. So just listen, and it takes the time it takes. We'll start with the left foot forward, low lunge, my good side. Nice and high up on those blocks, and let your weight, right? Let your weight come into your hands. Don't just solely sink through your hips. Chest is lifted, hips are square to the front, and find your edge. See why I like knee pads and socks? I can just kind of use the floor. Find your edge. Make sure that you're not dropping out to the side, right? Your knees pointing to the floor on that right leg. And we're gonna do a little bit of a pumping action. Breathe in, pump your ankle. Hands are holding onto those blocks. And give yourself a little bit of drop. Flex, I'm pushing into my blocks. Point and drop. Do one more, flex and point. Try not to be down here. Use your hands to push the ground away with your blocks. The ultimate goal, yes, is to get the hands overhead. That is a lot of back strength for me to really keep that upper body lifted. Breathe and feel. Pull your right shoulder forward, your left shoulder back. One more breath. Push into those blocks, nice and slow. Come back. And just take a little prayer position. You can remind yourself what possessed you to want to take this class with me. Nice breath in. Rise up. And let's try that right side. Stepping into your low lunge to start. Maybe you could figure out what side is your good side versus bad side. And I just mean, usually we are not even. That'd be almost impossible to have two perfectly even right and left sides. Dropping. Oh, push yourself away from the plant. Flex. Put your weight in your hands. Point and drop. Flex and point. You're gonna do one more. Flex and point. Push your left shoulder forward, your right shoulder back. Use your hands on your blocks to lengthen up. Squeeze and engage the muscles of your thighs. Right? Ultimate goal, we want to look for this. And breathe. Push into those blocks. Oh, nice and slow. Come out. Child's pose, embryo prayer pose. I'm feeling child's pose. Take a breath. And rise up. We've got one more round and we're gonna work a different entry and you'll see if this feels easier or the same. If I enter through my hamstring on my front split, it is actually easier and I can get deeper into my expression. And what I mean by that is coming through the hamstring. You'll want to either keep your hands on the blocks in front of you or hold the leg, which is what I like to do. Connect belly to thigh and slide yourself forward. Keep yourself as connected to that thigh as possible. Come to your body's end range and then push yourself up. I am quad dominant, so my hamstring is more open. It is easier for me to get into my split through my hamstring. I could have a picnic with this leg on the floor. My back leg, my right hip is really struggling to get there. Push into those blocks, drag your right hip forward, your left hip back. Now engage the muscles of your legs, breathe. Point and extend through those toes, squeeze your quads. Press into those blocks. Oh, nice and slow, pull your way back. Take a breath. We've got this second side. Remembering we're coming first through the hamstring, so belly to thigh for this. You can hold on to the blocks. I like to just kind of hold on to the leg as I slide into it. Get as low as you can and range, and then push into those blocks to come up. Adjust. I continue to need to push my left hip forward, my right hip back. Squeeze and engage your thighs. Chest is lifted. Try not to be down here. Lift your way up. I could be here all day, especially if you are open in your hamstrings. Hold and feel. One more breath. Push into those blocks and up we go. Go ahead and hinge back. Take another pose of a child. Knees wide, toes touch. Stack your fists and let your work go. Drop those hips to one side and swing around to a comfortable seat. So if you don't already have a front split, hopefully you feel like you're well on your way. And use this as a tool, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, to continue to work on your progression. Remember, sometimes it takes 6 months or a year, but it is gratifying to actually accomplish some of those personal goals. On the off days, work on things that we all need, like thoracic opening or deep tissue work with lacrosse balls or foam rollers. I hope you found this beneficial, and I hope we get to work together soon. Namaste.